A girl was getting off a horse when her skirt accidentally flipped up. The rich businessman's son saw that the girl was wearing red pants.
Зачетные труселя!
At first, he grinned like a pervert, but then he suddenly realized something was off. Those were modern pants. He rushed over, needing to see for himself. Turns out the wealthy businessman Pavel had spent a fortune hiring a film crew to stage an immersive time travel experience for his spoiled son, Grisha. He used a tranquilizer gun to knock Grisha out, and when Grisha woke up, he had become a servant in a landowner's estate. Before he could even react, a supervisor grabbed him, dragged him out while cursing him out, saying he failed to bridle the horses on time, and then gave him a real, brutal whipping. To make the performance convincing, yes, they were using real whips. This place was a village set built to look exactly like it was 200 years ago. You think that's a rotten apple? Inside, it's actually a hidden camera. There are hidden cameras in tree trunks, haystacks, even inside goat bones. Every villager is a professional actor. Whatever the director tells them to do, they do it. Even kiss scenes or bed scenes must be fully realistic. Their goal is to make Grisha truly believe he has traveled back in time to the czarist era of the 19th century. But while Grisha is spoiled, he's not stupid. He figured this had to be some kind of reality show. He told the villagers to stop acting, demanded a phone, and said he wanted to go home. Phone? What's that? Oh my God, they're still acting? Fine, you keep playing, I'm done. He turned and ran off, but the things he saw along the way started to confuse him. If this was a reality show, why weren't there any cameramen around? Then he saw a real bear at the edge of the village, and that's when he started to believe. Maybe he really had time traveled. Soon after, he was captured and brought back. As punishment for trying to escape, a serious crime for a servant, he was to be taken to the execution grounds. To make him truly believe it was 1860, the crew had to make everything even more realistic. So on the way to the execution site, the crew staged a scene where another servant had his hand chopped off. Grisha was completely terrified. Then he was brought up onto the platform, a rope placed around his neck, ready to face hanging. Grisha screamed, "You touch me and you're done!" My dad is the wealthy businessman Pavel. No one cared who his father was. Today, you die. When he saw that even dropping his dad's name didn't help, Grisha finally got scared. Of course, as the main character, the director was never going to let him die. Just at the critical moment, a girl in red came riding in on a horse. She was Aglaya, the landowner's daughter, and also the leading lady arranged by the crew. Her character was designed to be kind and gentle. According to the script, she will save Grisha, become his girlfriend, and even share some intimate scenes with him. Depending on how the story went, they might even end up having a child. Aglaya said that today was her coming-of-age ceremony, and she didn't want anyone to die on such a beautiful day. Dmitri was a loving father, so he immediately ordered a pardon for all the prisoners. And just like that, Grisha was set free. He was so scared he wet himself for real.
Штаны сухие есть?
He didn't even notice there was an eagle flying overhead. But it wasn't a real eagle. It was a drone. The drone flew into a distant windmill, which was actually a high-tech control center for the whole village. Every villager wore a special spy earpiece, and the director and backstage crew gave them instructions via radio from inside the windmill. To be extra cautious, they even had a sniper on standby. If anything went wrong or their cover was about to be blown, he'd tranquilize Grisha immediately. Not far from the windmill was an actor's rest area. When they weren't in a scene, the actors would gather there to chat and rehearse their lines. They weren't allowed to say anything related to the modern world. Although Grisha had escaped death, he still had to keep working in the stables as a servant. At night, he slept in a smelly stable. Thinking about everything that had happened that day, he was now fully convinced he had really traveled back in time. He decided to survive and figure out a way to return to his time. But the next day at mealtime, he was already starting to crack. "This? You're feeding pigs? At least give me some meat." "There is meat. Eat up." It wasn't just the food. Going to the bathroom was a problem too. No toilet paper. He had to use grass or leaves to wipe himself. He kept feeling like someone was watching him.
Занято!
Что у тебя занято? В вашем лесу, что ли, занято?
It made him anxious, and he was right. Someone was watching him. To avoid any slip-ups, the director's team monitored him 24/7, even when he went to the bathroom. Over the next few days, Grisha kept getting beaten and scolded by the supervisor, either for being lazy at work or for not being efficient enough. You have to understand, Grisha had always been the one looking down on others. He had never been treated this way before, so inside he was deeply hurt and resentful. The director's team thought the timing was perfect. It was time for the female lead to make her entrance. That's Dimitri's daughter, Aglaya. Her script was to have a chance encounter with Grisha, fall in love with him, get married, have children, and make him devoted to love. Because in the past, Grisha changed girlfriends every single day. His irresponsible and heartless behavior had even disgusted his wealthy father. That's why the team added this storyline, to change his nature. Aglaya sat crying beside a haystack, catching Grisha's attention. "What's wrong with you?" "My father wants to marry me off to an 80-year-old man." Aglaya thought Grisha would feel sorry for her, then hold her in his arms and comfort her. But instead, Grisha asked, "Is the old man rich?" "Yeah, he's rich." "Then what are you crying for? Marry him. After a few years when he dies, won't all his property be yours?" And with that, Grisha turned and walked away. The director and Pavel were speechless. This guy had no empathy and didn't follow the script at all. That day, Grisha stole a chicken.
Это ж барская курица. Отпусти быстро.
Не отпущу. Мне мясо надо. Я на одних комарах долго не протяну. А еще из перьев подушку себе сделаю.
Not long after, he cooked and ate the entire thing by himself, not even sharing a spoonful of soup with the others. The director saw this as the perfect opportunity to awaken his conscience, so he stayed up all night writing a new scene. The next day, the supervisor found the chicken missing and asked who stole it. When no one responded, he said, "You have two choices. If someone admits to it, you'll only get 10 lashes. If not, I'll pick someone at random and they'll get 50. Faced with this moral test, Grisha chose selfishness. The supervisor dragged off Proshka. Proshka was beaten until his skin was torn and bleeding, but he still didn't name Grisha. Everyone believed this act of loyalty would finally weigh on Grisha's conscience. But Grisha, used to ordering others around and making his underlings take the fall for him, felt no guilt at all. In fact, he looked disgusted. Pavel, seeing no progress in Grisha's attitude, is enraged and plans to destroy the project. But then, something unexpected happened. A girl was getting off a horse when her skirt accidentally flipped up. Grisha saw that the girl was wearing red pants. At first, he gave his usual sleazy grin, but then realized those were modern pants. He rushed over, trying to get a better look. The director panicked. If he saw this, the whole operation would be exposed. But when he lifted the girl's skirt, there was nothing there. Turns out the girl reacted fast. She had already taken off the pants and hidden them in the hay. Grisha thought maybe he just imagined it because he missed home so much. Once he came back to his senses, he actually apologized for his rude behavior.
Прости меня, я вел себя как животное.
Не надо оскорблять животных.
Хорошо, как гриб. Грибы-то можно оскорблять?
It was the first time in his life that Grisha had ever apologized to someone. Pavel was moved to tears. Maybe his son wasn't hopeless after all. Liza accepted Grisha's apology. To lighten the mood, she joked, "You've already seen my body. Now no one will want to marry me. So you have to." It was meant as a joke, but Grisha took it seriously. From that day on, he followed Liza around whenever he had the chance. But wait, that's not the right script. Aglaya was supposed to be the female lead. To steer Grisha back on track, the director added a new scene. Aglaya, resisting the marriage to the 80-year-old man, threw herself into the river right in front of Grisha. The scene went smoothly. Grisha rushed into the water, pulled Aglaya out, and laid her in a carriage. Next came the bed scene the director had arranged. Aglaya used all her charm to seduce Grisha. She thought that with her overwhelming allure she could easily win him over. But Grisha had seen it all before. He simply closed the carriage door and walked away. Now he was only interested in Liza. With no other option, the director had to rewrite the script and make Liza the new female lead, even though she was originally just a background character. Thanks to Grisha's passionate pursuit, Liza became his girlfriend. In the middle of their honeymoon phase, the director felt it was time to introduce a subplot. One day, Dmitri called Grisha over and treated him to a big feast. After the food and wine, Dmitri said, "My son hit someone with a carriage in the city. We need a servant to take the lashes for him. I think you're perfect. Afterward, I'll set you free, give you a house, and let you marry Liza." Seeing Grisha hesitate, Dmitri sweetened the deal with another offer.
Я тебе еще арбуз дам.
But Grisha wasn't thinking about rewards. He thought of his past. He once hit someone while drag racing and forced one of his underlings to take the blame. He knew if he refused now, his life here would become unbearable. Now, it was his turn to be the fall guy. This time, Grisha learned what it meant to share. Soon, the enforcer arrived at the village and gave Grisha 20 harsh lashes. With each strike, Grisha's face twisted in pain. And with each strike, it was as if he was being purified. For everything he had done in the past, this was the punishment he deserved. Even though it was all arranged by Pavel, he still couldn't bear to watch. The next day, Grisha went to Dmitri's house to collect his letter of freedom. But Dmitri's son went back on his word. Not only did he refuse to give it to him, he also humiliated Grisha and even spat in his face. Gotta admit, these professional actors were incredible. Their performances made viewers watching the screen furious. Everyone expected Grisha to fight back like a man, but instead, he chose cowardice. That was just who he was. He bullied the weak and feared the strong. That night, Grisha lay on the grass with Liza, chatting about how he was humiliated by Dmitri's son. He said that he clenched his fists and almost threw a punch, but didn't. Because when he looked at Dmitri's son's face, it was like seeing his old, arrogant self. Pavel was deeply moved. His son was finally beginning to reflect. In the days that followed, Grisha worked hard and finished his tasks early so he could go on dates with Liza. They rowed boats together, snuck off to eat together, and went on long walks. One day, Grisha opened up to Liza and told her he was actually a time traveler. He used to act like nothing mattered because his mother had passed away when he was young, and his father was always too busy making money to care about him. On the surface, Liza said she didn't understand what time travel meant, but her feelings toward Grisha started to change. She looked down on him at first, thinking he was just a spoiled rich kid. But after spending time together, she realized she might actually be falling for him. At this point, the director felt it was time to push the story to its climax. One day, a group of soldiers stormed into the village. They demanded to take the most beautiful girl, or they'd slaughter the entire village. They grabbed a random girl, but since the soldiers valued bravery, they gave the villagers a chance. If anyone dared to challenge them to a duel, win or lose, the girl would be released. The girl's father bravely stepped forward, but he was defeated in a few blows and had his head chopped off. Of course, it was just clever camera angles and a fake prop head. Next, it was Liza's turn. All eyes turned to Grisha. This was the final challenge meant to help him overcome his cowardly nature. If he passed this test, the time travel show would end perfectly. But Grisha looked at the woman he loved, then remembered the man who had just been beheaded. "Why are you all looking at me? I barely even know her." Then he turned and walked away. Grisha once again chose cowardice. Liza was crushed, and Pavel felt utterly humiliated. He immediately ordered the sniper to tranquilize the coward and end the whole project. But then, something no one expected happened.
Давай! Эй, зашибу, твари!
Grisha showed up on horseback, carrying Liza behind him as they galloped across the fields, through the woods, and arrived at a gas station. Before he could react, the sniper caught up and shot him with a tranquilizer. When Grisha woke up, his father told him that he had been in a car accident and had been in a coma for 3 months. Grisha thought the whole time travel experience had just been a dream. But even if it was a dream, he had truly changed. He was no longer arrogant, and his bad habits were gone too. Yet without Liza, no other woman interested him. Not even going to his favorite bar could lift his mood. Until one day, he came across 2 familiar faces, the ones from his dream, Dmitri's son and Aglaya. Seeing how lost and miserable Grisha looked, they couldn't help but tell him the truth and brought him to a horse ranch. There, Grisha finally reunited with the woman he had longed for, Liza.
Все было по-настоящему.
Да. Я скучала.
In the end, the village built to change Grisha was once again put to use to help other rebellious kids, and Grisha became one of the enforcers in the village.
As the saying goes, it's easy to change your surroundings, but hard to change your nature.
Changing a person is tough. Changing their bad habits is even tougher. But with the love of a parent and the love of a partner, changing someone might not be that hard after all. See you next time.